So I am Shannon from SP Visual Solutions. I am a product photographer and videographer, and I work with teacher sellers just like you. So my presentation tonight for you all is the power of visual storytelling, how photos and videos make an impact. So I am a former teacher. I was in education for 22 years and I taught in elementary and middle school classrooms. My most recent teaching experience was 10 years as a middle school science teacher. I never thought I would teach middle school. I loved it. It was an awesome experience. I worked at a charter school and I just had a ton of freedom to kind of teach how I wanted to teach. And I hadn't really had that experience before, that I could just teach curriculum that I thought was exciting and hands-on and fun for kids. And that's really kind of what got me excited, just to be in that world of visuals for students, just making sure that things were eye-catching and that students really had this way to have attention grabbed within labs and, presentations. And so, yeah, it was a good experience. I retired after 20 years in the classroom and transitioned out in 2022. I just felt like it was time. Loved my experiences. I also was an instructional coach and a teacher mentor. I was an assistant director. I wore a lot of hats. I was a state testing coordinator, so fun. So I've had a lot of experience getting to support teachers, and it's something that I really loved and wanted to know how I could figure out how to do that moving forward. So I still wanted to work with education, work with teachers, support them in some way. So now I get to support teacher sellers with photos and videos, telling that visual story within their product lines. So it's been a really cool transition. I've been doing it for 2 years now. I had an opportunity to work with over 20 teacher sellers, and it's just been so fun, and I'm still loving it. So yeah, so we'll get started, and looking forward to, if you'd like to ask questions, please feel free during the presentation. If you just want to think about your thoughts, that's great too. I was always that teacher. I would never put you on the spot. So do what feels good. All right, so thinking about the last resource you may have bought on TpT, I want you to think about, why did you choose it? So just take a moment, think about why you chose that resource. And so when we're thinking about why we choose a resource, we're also thinking about what makes us click add to cart, right? So I just have two photos here, and they're not from the same product, which in retrospect probably would have made more sense if it was, but we'll pretend. But on the left is actually a worksheet that I had created, and it is just a mock-up. And let's say this was my cover on TpT. And on the right, maybe this is my cover for a different product. And as I'm scrolling for myself, I am probably going to click on the product on the right, because I can see things happening. I can see that, oh, this is a brochure. Students can color this brochure. There are activities. They can doodle. They can draw things that make them happy. This is a brochure about being joyful. So I can envision how my students might use this. I'm probably gonna click on that before I'm gonna click on the one on the left, because yes, it's a good worksheet, but it's not filled in, there's not a lot to it, and I kind of want a little bit more, right? So tying visuals to a point of trust. I'm going to talk a lot about that this evening, thinking about how do we get our buyers to trust our products, and visuals can really do that job. So the first thing I'd like to chat with you all about is why visuals matter. So first impressions do count. Buyers are going to decide in seconds. Covers, thumbnails, I like to think of them as a first handshake. These are what draw the buyer in and get them to keep looking. And a tidbit, 67% of consumers say product images are more important to them than descriptions or reviews when making a purchase decision. And high quality images can increase conversion rates by up to 30%. Those are pretty big numbers in the TpT world. So when we look here at, just this image on the screen, we're seeing something that's a real model, right? It's something that I can envision my students creating in real time. I'm seeing supplies, I'm seeing some worksheets filled out for this project. I'm seeing that project in motion and action here. So when we think of those covers, our thumbnails, our previews, all of that is building trust for our buyers. So just kind of something to think about as we go through this tonight. How are you building trust with your buyers? Okay. So what is your first impression of this photo on the screen here? And you're welcome to write in the chat or if you want to share. But what are your impressions?
It looks a little scattered and I'm not sure what it's about, aside from bats, but like what the purpose of it is.
Sure, a little scattered, maybe not sure what it's about, don't know what it is, kind of dry, not very interesting. Yeah. Yeah, we can definitely see, okay, it's about bats of the world, right? There's some images that are coming together here, but how is that all working together? What is this even for, right? Yeah, you can see glue topper here, right? So it gives us a little bit of information. Oops. Okay, so now we see a couple more images. We take the image up top and we think about how can we tell a little bit more of the story of this product? So what do you now notice on the bottom?
Definitely have a better idea what it's all about. I mean, I can, with the toppers and all that, it makes much
Mhm.
more sense.
Yeah, you have a better idea of how we're going to use this product. How would a student use this product in the classroom, right? On the left, there's a notebook. They're probably going to be doing some research. They have a rubric that they're going to have a guide of. They have some options of different bats to choose from. The student might be doing research with the bumblebee bat. And then on the right, the teacher can kind of envision, oh, I can make a bulletin board display of this. And maybe with this bulletin board display, students will be able to go up to it, they'll be able to gather information. Maybe I can even do an extension off of this type of project. So there's a lot of information we can gather from this. So what I like to think of is, we've always used visuals to capture student attention in the classroom. So why should visuals for the consumer be any different? All right, so that is going to lead us into photos that tell a story. I'm all about storytelling this evening. Okay, sorry, I'm just like pulling down. I have my notes, just throwing them on the floor. All righty. So, what makes a great photo? Let's start there. So, what are the first things that jump out at you when you compare the top photo to the bottom one?
Well, the color for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the
And
color, definitely. Yeah, it's
you're
cute,
gonna be
right?
you're gonna be able to see where the kids can color or interact a little bit better and what their final project will be.
Yeah, we can see that, the case of the naughty list, they've chosen, they colored in choice one, right? And then they've started their story. They've got their rubric to guide them. It feels more festive because this is a, holiday-based writing project. So what we're looking for here is clear lighting. Now the top photo, you can see it just fine. And when I go through TpT, because I do a lot of TpT auditing as well, when I get new clients, sometimes they will ask me to go to their store and just kind of look around, see what I see, just notice their covers and their thumbnails and maybe some suggestions I could give. And a lot of times I do see if people are taking photos, lighting can be an issue. And it can be an issue for me too, even being a product photographer, because I don't have great natural lighting in my office. So it can definitely be a bit tricky. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on how you can light your products. Consistency, being consistent with your brand or your themed backgrounds. So I just want to start off by saying that you don't have to have anything fancy to set up a background for a photo. You can just go ahead and take your desk and you can put a couple of pieces of construction paper behind it, maybe that go with your brand colors, and you can set it up with some crayons, colored pencils, right? And you've got a look. So it doesn't have to be anything that is over the top. It doesn't have to be anything where you have to go buy a bunch of props, anything like that. Props do enhance, and we want them to enhance and not distract. So this client in particular really likes bold, bright colors, things that are very themed. They like having different colored paper mixed in with the white paper. And so I try to keep the props to a minimum. They also really love utensils like coloring tools. And so I always make sure that I'm including a coloring tool if it goes with, whatever the theme is or whatever the activity is, including a pencil in there as well, kind of themed out. But as you can see, it's enhancing the product. It's not really distracting from it. So we want to create consistency. So my recommendation is to choose 2 to 3 go-to backgrounds for a brand look. So what does that mean? This client here, their brand colors consist of lime green and blue. And they just like clean, desk, natural looking backgrounds, right? So how simple is that? If my brand is lime green and blue, and I just want a natural background, I can just get a couple pieces of construction paper, put them on my table, and you can see that consistency throughout. Now, this is a set of stations for fossils. So there are 5 different stations in this unit. And here I just kind of grabbed a few things that I had. Because I'm a former science teacher, I have lots of fossils lying around. So I just grabbed a few fossils. I have a magnifying glass. I'm not buying a ton of props, even as a product photographer. Have a lot of things lying around my house that work really well with a lot of teacher products. So the purpose of this isn't just to stage. I think a lot of times TpT sellers feel like they have to really stage out their products. We still want it to look natural, as though a student would be using it. Yes, we can add some fun into it, because if I was in the classroom with my students doing these stations, I would have fossils for them, right? So we kind of want to show that, like, yeah, you can have some fossils for your kids. You're going to have magnifying glasses, you're going to have some coloring tools, and, it helps to brand that look. So as you can see, it seems pretty consistent. Let's look at some more. I want to show you a photo transformation, like a little case study here. So I work with a client she has wonderful products. They're all 3rd through 5th grade, sometimes 2nd grade and 1st grade, but mostly 3rd through 5th. And they're a lot of project-based learning type products. And so when she came to me, she said, hey, I need preview videos that kind of brand my look and show off my products, but I'm also looking for, a way to showcase what's actually happening in the projects, because there's so much that goes on in my product. I want people to have like a snapshot of that, right? So photo 1, she had worksheets. This was her cover, and it's wonderful. There's nothing wrong with it, right? It looks great. It's very clean, beautiful colors, it's themed, and so it looks really good. So what I did was I just kind of took it to a different level of cohesiveness and kind of just transforming it a bit so we could see, what actually could happen within this product. So this one over here, place value activity pages, I set up a scene where she was looking for, I got like little sugar pie pumpkins over at Trader Joe's. They're like $3. And this was, we're doing pumpkin rounding, pumpkin multiplication. So I've got a calculator, pencil, filled some of it in. I mean, it's not a lot going on, right? There's not a lot to it. Other pictures, other photos that I took within this setup, I have a scale. I had another one where we were measuring circumference. And so I put some sticky tack on a piece of measuring tape to kind of show that, right? So really just trying to stick to that cohesivity of what's happening in this product to allow that buyer to be like, oh, hey, that's cool. On the left, the great thing about that is this project, you can do it just worksheet based so you don't have to buy pumpkins for kids, or you can do the mini pumpkins. And so I also have photos of that too. And in her preview video, you can see both those things, right? So we're bringing it all together, showing some materials they might need and how students can interact. So nothing's bad about photo one. I just want to make that clear. It's just we're enhancing it to give that buyer more of a vision of what our product can do for them, right? I always love to say, your products are already amazing. We just want everybody else to see that. Yeah. Okay. So here I have a little photo checklist for you. So if you decide, hey, I want to try to DIY some photos, some things that you can try are natural lighting. Natural lighting is your best friend when it comes to taking photos. So depending on where you live and what time of day it is, I've even had teachers tell me that because they're still in the classroom, they like at lunch will put one of their student desks by a window and take a quick photo of their product because they get really good lighting. And actually those fluorescent lights in your classrooms, albeit, not fun to be in all day, they actually provide some pretty good lighting on photos. So natural lighting whenever you can and consistent props. I just think grabbing a few props, keeping it consistent, notebooks, a little fake plant, right? A glue stick. You can keep it really simple. I'm always trying to make sure that within photo work, I am capturing what is happening within that photo and making sure I'm using supplies that make sense. So for that first photo on the top left, these are, we're looking at foldables. And so want to make sure I have scissors there. I have a notebook where you're gluing the foldable into glue stick. I mean, it sounds a little silly, but just these few little things really gives you that, oh yeah, that's how we're going to use that. Because sometimes we just need that extra little visual cue. Multiple angles, just try using multiple angles with your phone. Although I am a product photographer, I do not have a fancy camera. I create all of these photos on my Google Pixel. Like I'm just taking these on my camera phone and I have an editing program. So it does not need to be fancy. Like that's the empower yourself to try it because these are the moments that we can really surprise ourselves, right? Where we're saying like, hey, look at me, I tried that. When we say multiple angles, maybe you tilt your camera a little bit and get an angle from the side, right? Maybe you take a POV, like a bird's eye view, from the top. There's different things that you can do. Maybe you do a portrait, and so the background is blurred a little bit if you want to get really fancy. But multiple angles can be really fun just to kind of change up your thumbnails a little bit and give them a little bit more dimension instead of just having the same shot every time with just different worksheets, just kind of giving it a little bit of a jazzing up. I also like to recommend batch photos. So this is when you are short on time. So I don't particularly batch photo all that much just because this is my job, my business. And so I'm always kind of trying to make every shot unique. But batch photos are a great way to get that product photographed quickly. And what I mean by that is you are basically using that same prop setup in the background, but you are switching out your worksheets. So if you do that, I would recommend taking them at different angles so they look a little bit different. You can also batch when you set up the same, like let's say if you were using, this setup here, maybe you just switch out, a couple of markers, a couple of flare pens for a couple of crayons, or you put, glue stick. You could do that really quickly. So it doesn't have to be anything that is, taking up a lot of brain space and saying, oh my gosh, I have to figure out layouts. I have to, get all this creativity on. I mean, batch photos are a great way to say I can knock out 4 photos for thumbnails in my product. And then the great thing is you can use them in your previews too. Like if you have 4 photos that you feel really good about, use 1 on your cover, use a few in your thumbnails, put 1 in your preview. And it's okay if a thumbnail is also in your preview because you may be explaining it in a different way. So don't reinvent the wheel, use what you got. And then finally, I think my biggest tip I can give you tonight is if you decide to take your own photos, partially fill in your worksheets. Although it takes a little bit longer, this is the key to getting buyers to be like, ooh, that's how you do that worksheet. Or like, I could see my kids doing that color by number. Look how cool that looks. Like, and not just always showing an answer key, which if you need to in a pinch, of course, yes. But, you can see the product, at least on the bottom here, I started to fill it out. I like doing partials because then it kind of shows like a student is working in progress, right? And also you don't want to give away all the answers. I mean, we don't want people just copying our work. I have seen that. So I don't know if you've seen that on TpT, but I've seen so many times on TpT when I was teaching, I'd like go to a product and someone would have the whole sheet filled out. And I'd be like, well, I can just make this myself now because I have all the answers and I see how to do it right here. So just maybe a little tip there, but I do think the partial fill-ins are key. And I do have clients ask for complete fill-ins. That's fine. What I do is I cover. I do a little bit of a cover. I do kind of a little hide so you don't see, the whole thing. Kind of leave a little mystery, right? So we want to be like, ooh, that looks really exciting. I want to see more, but I'm not seeing the whole thing. Any questions on photos? Or I don't know, Chris, if you want me to wait till the end, however you all want to do it. And it's a lot of information coming at you.
You can do whatever feels right for you.
All right.
I don't have any
Whatever
questions
right
on
for all of
photos
you.
at the moment.
Okay, cool.
Does anybody? Okay, keep going. You're good.
All right, cool. So next, we are going to talk about videos. Okay, videos building connection. Oh, I love videos so much. All right. So I just love preview videos. And I have been told by 4 clients now in the past 2 months, newer clients, that and I apologize, I'm not up on all the TpT lingo, but whatever that document is that you can look at that kind of gives you information on maybe ways to improve your product, they had said that they could use preview videos. And so I've had a lot of clients come to me recently saying, hey, I need a preview video just to start to showcase my product better. And so there's just something about them that like gives you this amazing opportunity, lets you show off your personality, lets you show off your brand style, and really is proof as to why your product matters. I will say they're more time intensive, of course, which is why I have a lot of video work on my plate. And that's fine because I love doing it. But yeah, they're a lot of work. But the possibilities are endless. There's just so many things you can do, and we'll talk about a few of those in just a moment. 62% of TpT buyers say a thorough preview video is one of the biggest influences on their purchase decision. That's a pretty high number. So I want to look at the power of preview videos, and then we'll look at how product reels can enhance your social media if that's something you're into. So buyers see your product in action. We're building trust. There's that word again, building trust. And I have videos, like clips to show you while I'm talking. I don't know how well they will stream, so bear with me. We'll give it a try. All right, so preview videos, they're letting your buyers see your resource in action before purchasing. It's kind of like a mini test drive of your product. So it's all about boosting confidence in your product. Buyers can explore the layout, the flow. It reduces hesitation because they can see what's happening and how they can utilize this with their students. So it's going to demonstrate things like differentiation. You can show off activities like you see here. You can show different layouts. You can even pop up answer keys. Just any unique design elements that you have in your product. Now, once again, you're giving a test drive. Are you showing your whole product? No, I wouldn't. You just want to kind of give a snippet of like what is happening. So here's another one here. But, you know, to me, when I'm thinking about, this is that pumpkin one I had shown you the cover for. But, you know, when I'm thinking about I'm always thinking in the mind of a teacher, what do I want to see? What do I want to grab me to be like, oh my gosh, yes, I could do that with my kids. And you know what? Sometimes I'm able to like, that's too much work. And that's okay. I mean, that's okay, you know, but the point is we're trying to really show how our products are useful, how they're great resources, how they are manageable in the classroom. I mean, that's the goal. So we're giving this opportunity to potential buyers to be like, yeah, that looks really great for my kids. I need to get that today, right? So some practical tips. I would keep videos concise. 45 seconds to a minute tops. Most of the preview videos I make, less than a minute because we have no attention span as humans anymore. And we want to see things quick. Now, we don't want to do it so quickly that we spent all that time and, you know, all we did was show 10 seconds. We can do that, and that might be social media. But I would say at least minimum 30 seconds because you do want to kind of give that moment of like, oh yeah, this is how that worksheet might get filled in, or, you know, we're going to color it this way. Definitely showing the resource clearly. So if you are going to record a video on your phone, that's how I do it. You know, you can use your phone, no problem. I have a phone stand that I got on Amazon for, I think, $30. You don't have to have that. I mean, you can prop your phone however works best for you, but you don't want to be holding your phone and trying to make a video. I definitely recommend getting a stand if you want to try this out. But you know, you can flip through pages. You could do a flip through if that is all you have time for, and that's totally fine. I wouldn't flip through the whole resource. I'd pick something from the beginning, the middle, and the end. To me, that's a mini test drive, right? Show them a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here. You want to use good lighting and you want a clean background. In both of these videos here, I use the same background. And y'all, it's just a piece of poster board I got for $1 at the Dollar Tree. Like, it is nothing fancy. I just put it on top of my desk, right? For my lighting, I have a lighting setup, but once again, you could do this right in natural light at the right time of day, or all you do is turn your phone brightness up. There's lots of editing features on your phone where you can make it brighter. Lots of ways you can do that. I also recommend adding simple captions to emphasize important details because when we are looking at a video, yeah, we can see what's happening, but specifically, what is it about, right? So adding a few captions here and there just gives that buyer another piece of information to say, yeah, I want to put that in my cart. All these little pieces are coming together in that visual storytelling puzzle for your potential buyers. So just, you know, think about keeping it concise, keep it clear, use good lighting and some simple captions. So reels are a really great way to show off your product via social media. I'm not sure how many of you have like a teachergram, but a lot of my clients, I have 2 clients that I only do reels for. So they have their own photo stuff going on. They just want reels, and that's cool. They want to take the time to do it, and I get it. Because funny enough, reels are actually a little more time consuming depending on what they are than even a preview video. So, but not impossible. And they're really fun, and this is another thing, you can just flip through the product, y'all. Like, you don't have to make it complicated, but it's just a quick snippet. So anywhere from like 8 or 9 seconds to 20 seconds is a really great way to do another little mini test drive of your product. And reels are great for teasers. So if you have a new product line coming out and you want to just kind of get it out in the world, or you want to say like, hey, look what's coming soon, giving them that quick teaser, that's exciting, right? And reels are fun if you're on Instagram because you get to pick your own music, right? That's where you get to show off your personality, your style if you want. I don't do that for my clients. I always there's no sound. I do offer captions if people want them, but some clients just want video. That's it. And then they're going to add their own captions. They're going to add their own music, and it kind of gives you that extra freedom to really give buyers a glimpse into what they might be getting. So I focus on 3 types of reels for my clients. I would say if you've never done it before, the first type of reel that I'm going to show you here is the easiest. So this is a flip through reel. This is basically just sped up to, I think, 2 times speed. And I'm just flipping through the product. And there's about 70 pages. I only did like 20. So it's just a real quick flip through. You see the background is just really clean. This is a client who really loves color. So we've got just a blue background, some crayons, because that's what we're going to use, little plant, right? Easy peasy. And it's just real quick, right? Flip it through, done. That's it. This next one, I just really enjoy making them. I don't know how much I would recommend doing these ones, but these are stop motion, and I love making these for labs. I just think it's really fun, just a cool way to show off someone's, product line in just a different way. I do this with all kinds of products, but lab work, it's just a really kind of fun way to give the buyer kind of another glimpse as to, oh my gosh, look, it's being built. Like, how fun is that, right? Like, that's so cool. So for that type of video, it's taking photos. So you are literally taking a photo, you're moving, snap, moving, snap, moving, snap. So for that video in particular, I probably took 80 photos, and then you put them all together and you take down the duration of that clip to maybe 0.2 seconds, and then it flows together like it's moving. So it's kind of cool. I had to teach myself how to do that and watch some YouTube videos. So it's definitely something that was a little more involved, but I have a client who really, really loves them, and I love making them. So it's nothing that's too, upsetting for me when I have to do it every month. And then finally, another type of reel that a lot of sellers like to use are walkthrough reels. So basically, this is showing off the product kind of like a preview video, but in a much shorter time span. So it's really clipped, but you can kind of see this is that bats one, just putting together quickly, right? One of those bat research pennants, and then giving a quick view of, it built on the bulletin board. And that's just quick because I clipped all of these. So these are even a little bit shorter than the original reels, but you get the idea. So let's pull it all together. Okay, so 3 words to aim for: consistency, connection, and trust. So photos and videos, that is your brand story. I am all about the brand story. Now, does it mean that like your colors have to be in every single photo? No. But when I say brand story, it's how are you standing out? right? When someone is scrolling on TpT, they recognize you immediately. So you want that brand recognition, and that can be tough. I know I tried a store when I was a science teacher and I just did not have a lot of time, and my stuff was all over the place. And I literally just pulled templates from wherever, or I tried to create stuff and I didn't have any colors or anything, and it was just kind of mishmashed together. And I feel like, if I am a buyer looking through products, it's a little confusing, right? We kind of want that cohesivity. We want to make sure that we're seeing that consistency because we can then connect to that buyer. If you are a primary school teacher and you are using, props and backgrounds that are more for high school kids, right? Like we want it to be, consistent. If you teach middle school, we don't want to be using preschool type setups because teachers, I will give you an example. My partner, David, teaches high school history. He was just scrolling through TpT last night and he said, I was gonna, I was looking at this product and it says grades 6 through 12, but they're using elementary school clip art. And that just is not going to work for my kids. They are in 11th grade. And so, like, that was a cue for him. He moved on. And just the cover, right? I looked at it and was like, oh, yeah, that's pretty elementary looking. So if I'm teaching high school, that's not something I'm going to be drawn to. So when we think about being consistent in our branding, our visual presence, and how do you share your product stories with the TpT world? How many products are there, Chris? Like 7 million or something like that? There are so many products and so many sellers, right? So how are you going to stand out in this crowded market? Connection. We want to connect with our audience. We want to connect in a way that feels authentic. I am not above a mock-up. I have a store on TpT that has about 10 mock-ups in it that I have sold. But I feel like those are good in a pinch. But really, you are trying to build this authenticity within your brand. So, what is that going to look like for you? How do you want people to see you through your products? I know it sounds really emotional, but you are pouring so much time into this work, right? I mean, and if you are working full time and also doing a TpT store, oh, that's a lot. So you really want to give that feel of, hey, this is me, this is who I am, and this is why you should buy my products. And then we're turning that story into trust. So building that story is going to build trust, and trust in your brand, trust in your products. So even as you see here, one of my clients, we did this Math Madness tournament. Her brand colors, she really wanted to be the forefront and also kind of, theming it out a little bit, right? But you can see like the bottom, that's from the preview video. That's the first slide of the preview video. And then those are her thumbnails. So it all comes together. And this is how we are creating her brand line. So many of her products that I've done already this year have this look, right? They don't all have basketballs. That's not what I mean. They have that look of being consistent, right? They're going to have her brand colors, her personality. Like, what does that look like? All right, so quick little mini activity. I want you to think about a product from your store and what story are the visuals of that product currently telling? And this is just for you, or you are welcome to share. This is not to make anyone feel like it's not good enough. This is, what is your story? And, really, what story do you want them to tell? Okay, so our visuals do matter. I mean, y'all, your resources are already amazing. I feel like as educators, we are passionate about, it's not just, well, of course, making money is great, but we really are in the business of helping other teachers. We are in the business of helping kids be successful. And that's where you are shining. And so we just want those visuals to allow other people to see that in the way that you see them and you want to be seen. And that's what I have for you tonight. Thank you so much for listening. Yeah, if you're ready to elevate your brand, not really into DIY, I'd love to support your journey. In November, in December, I'll be offering holiday discounts. So if you hop on my email list, my mailing list, those emails, one will be coming out this Wednesday with discounts, and then one will be coming out in December. I even give out freebies. So in October, if you purchased 3 photos, you got a free reel, which is pretty cool. So I love throwing out freebies, especially if you've never done this before. I have a la carte packages. There's different things that you can just if you just want to give it a try. If you just want to contact me to chat, I'm so happy to do that too. I love just sharing. And if you just want some DIY advice, I'm so happy to give that. I really want you to feel supported in your journey, whatever that looks like. I know times are tight and things can be expensive, but there's ways that we can do this that don't have to feel overwhelming. So you can connect with me on my website at spvisualsolutions.com. My email is here as well. I have Instagram. You can follow me there. I post a lot of DIY type stuff and tips in my stories, and I like to showcase seller work. So if you ever want to see what that looks like, I also have started a YouTube channel. And so here I'm going to be showing I'm going to be starting with 12 weeks, and each week I'm going to be releasing, it's going to be something a little different. So one week it'll be about photos. One week it might be about branding. One week it'll be about videos, kind of some of the stuff we talked about here, but going into a little more depth. And I did want to share with you all a freebie. I have a checklist for you tonight. It's basically just a checklist of the things that we talked about tonight. And, you can print it. It's PDF. I'll see if that works. But you're welcome to, print that out if you just need kind of just a reminder or, a guide if you're looking to try some DIY photos and videos.